Chapter 22-27 8 Changes. Call. Onimo didn't have time to think before the ice-blue flames were already burning towards him. If I don't escape quickly now, I will definitely be burned by that damn ice flame. Once you get that thing on you, there is no good way to get rid of it unless you cut your flesh. It will only continue to drain your strength. In addition, Suzaku can absorb the opponent's power through fire to strengthen himself. The more she fights, the stronger she becomes. However, if Onimo escaped from the forest under such circumstances, he knew that the Xuanwu would have opened its mouth wide and the Xuanguang cannon was ready to fire, waiting for him to appear. Should I run away? He thought of the questions that almost every silver-armored general would think about. In such an absolutely disadvantageous and unequal battle, escape is the wisest choice. But soon, he couldn't realize one thing. He has no right to escape. Once he escapes, a gap will appear on the front line, and the human coalition forces will march straight into the Imperial city. Then, even if the war is over, he will be executed by Marshal Zhenlu for deserting the battle. Therefore, there is no way to escape, and you must fight to the death to have a chance of survival. They enjoyed so many resources from the Wulwan Empire and were trained just for moments like today. Onimo gritted his teeth and transformed his body again. The giant bear's body became twisted, and 8 sharp black limbs grew on its body, and many red compound eyes grew on its head. In an instant, he turned into a giant spider more than 10 meters tall. It looked like a monster that would make people feel cold all over their bodies when they saw it, especially its limbs. Each one seemed to be made of black iron, emitting a terrifying sharp cold light. Power of the 8 gods. Scarecrow's spider form. After the transformation, he did not choose to rush out, but started digging a hole on the ground and quickly hid underground. The vermilion bird slowly flapped its wings and looked down coldly from high in the sky. She said to Xuanwu, "If he escapes, we will go directly to the front lines to kill the lizardmen. Destroy their cities, tear down their walls, and annihilate their troops and civilians. If he hasn't escaped, he should have transformed into a spider and escaped from this sea of fire underground. So pay attention to the movements on the ground." At this time, turning into a scarecrow spider is the best option for Onimo. The decision that Onimo could make in a moment was also foreseeable by the 2 veteran soldiers, Zhu Yu and Xianwu. After all, this time, among the entire Huaxiu Kingdom's coalition forces, they have the most battlefield experience. Working in the sea all year round, they have to face countless complex situations. Confront the Colombian Navy, annihilate the pirate group, and deal with the mutated deep-sea monsters. This gives them extremely rich combat experience. As expected, Onimo showed up. He appeared from another area, which was just behind Suzaku. When he emerged from the mud, the first thing he did was to spit out a white spider web in the direction of Suzaku. The spider web shot out like a sharp arrow, as fast as a bullet, and then suddenly opened up the moment it got close to Suzaku. It's hard to imagine that the spider web, which was initially smaller than a human head, would become so huge after unfolding. The unfolded spider silk was as thin as a silk thread, instantly covering a space of thousands of square meters. However, Zhuke had been prepared for this, so when the spider web was approaching, he was aware of its presence. Zhuke faced the spider web without any panic expression on his face. He just opened his mouth and spit out an ice-blue flame. The icy flame attached to the spider web and then began to burn rapidly along the spider web. In less than a moment, the huge spider web absorbed all its energy and turned into ashes in the air. Xuanwu's Xuanguan cannon has been fully charged and fired directly at Onimo. Boom! In order to prevent Onimo from escaping underground again, this attack also hit the earth. The thick black light cannon shot over from above the lake, blasting a gully dozens of meters deep into the ground. It shattered the ground and slammed into Onimo's body like a huge shovel. Onimo had no time to dodge and could only rely on the scarecrow spider's shell to block the black light cannon. His body was sent flying far away by the impact. Xuanwu and Suzaku chased after them again. Call. The vermilion bird flew in the sky, transforming into a ruthless fire-breathing machine, spewing out long and thin blue flames from its mouth. The fire grew bigger with the wind as it went downwards, turning into a raging flame that spread across the entire prairie. Xuanwu also used the jet device to soar into the sky from the water, and its body spiraled and slammed heavily towards Onemo's. Onemo's heart was broken at this moment. The power of Yagami is an extremely powerful high-level beastman-type ability that takes on different forms, allowing him to handle a variety of difficult combat environments. However, at this moment, no matter how he changed, the opponent did not seem to be surprised at all and could easily cope with his abilities. In this situation, how else can he fight? He could only drag his injured body and crawl quickly on the ground with his 8 limbs to avoid the attacks from behind. Boom! The Xuanwu gyroscope chased after him, and the Suzaku in the sky provided him with the exact direction, so Animus couldn't escape at all. If you choose to escape into the earth at this time, it would be a very dangerous act. Because Onemo then gave a standard demonstration. He could only choose to dig the ground to temporarily escape the lock of Suzaku in the sky. Then, shortly after he disappeared into the earth, a huge shadow suddenly fell from the sky. The huge basalt spiraled down and smashed into the area like a nuclear bomb falling to the ground. The huge impact force caused the ground to collapse like sand. Boom! This blow caused the ground to sink hundreds of meters deep. Hundreds of millions of tons of soil, along with the surrounding buildings and forests, were blown away into the distance by this huge force. No matter how fast Onemo dug, he could not be faster than the bombardment of shells falling from the sky. His body was almost crushed by Xuanwu. At the most dangerous moment, he changed his form. It turned from a scarecrow spider into a long earthworm. This disgusting and extremely sticky creature has almost no advantages over beastman-type ability users. Neither speed nor strength is worth mentioning, but its biggest advantage is its strong vitality. For example, at this moment, his body had been crushed by the black tortoise and broken into several pieces, but he shook his body, and the largest part of his body quickly grew back to the other half and swam rapidly underground towards a deeper depth. Chapter 22-28 You Run, I Massacre the City. Xuanwu moved his huge body and used his webbed feet to dig at the soil underneath. Finally, he found the remains of Onemo in the soil based on the biological reaction. Earthworm. He was a little depressed, as he had thought this move could severely damage Onemo. It looks like he got away again. The vermilion bird was flying high in the sky with no intention of landing. Her advantage is that she can keep a distance and use fire to attack, leaving no chance for the opponent. Then let's go massacre the city. Suzaku's voice was extremely cold. Good. Xuanwu also had no objection. At this moment, the two were too lazy to continue dealing with this deserter. If Onemo fled without fighting, they would have already won the war. They are generals, not ordinary soldiers, and they are concerned about the overall victory. As long as the entire Wulwan Empire is taken over, these stray dogs of the lizard men will no longer be a threat to us. The two men's voices were very loud. They deliberately let Onemo hear the conversation and forced Onemo to show up. Onemo was in great pain at this time. It wasn't just him. Through the conversations between the silver-armored generals, he had discovered that the situation on every battlefield was almost the same. Moreover, they are basically at a disadvantage on every alien battlefield. Only some veteran strongmen can turn the defeat around with their rich experience. But looking at the overall situation, their situation is very unfavorable. First of all, the military has been completely crushed. Secondly, at the high-level and human level, even their invincible Grand Marshal was fighting fiercely with the opponent's superior inhumans. Now more than an hour has passed since the battle started, but Zheng Lu still hasn't defeated his opponent. If this continues, the future of the Wulwan Empire will be in jeopardy. Onemo was struggling. It was not because he was afraid of death, but because he did not want to die in such a meaningless battle. In fact, all the situations here have been noticed by the top leaders of the empire. Although it is impossible to see the specific battlefields clearly, the continuous shrinking of the front line is an indisputable fact. The impatient voices of the higher-ups reached the ears of the silver-armored generals. We must defend the line to the death. No matter what, we must not let these people get close to the central city. Once the central city falls, the empire will be finished. The central urban area not only houses the residences of royal relatives and nobles, but also houses the empire's important core industries. For example, advanced scientific research institutions, various cutting-edge companies, and energy centers. The capture of the central city area means the complete paralysis of the Wulwan Empire. Ce turned the ring on his hand much faster, and he began to urge his men. The equipment for the underground drifting plan was ready. He gave the order without any hesitation. Send our seeds away. Stay away from the Wulwan Empire. Even if something unexpected happened here today, we must leave a glimmer of hope for the Wulwan tribe. The situation is critical and we can't wait any longer. A minister hurried over and said to Ce, Your Majesty, we haven't failed yet. Marshal Zheng Lu has concentrated the Empire's energy for a desperate battle. As long as he wins, we still have a chance. He had the second half of the sentence he wanted to say, but when he saw the ring on Ce's left hand, he took it back. He meant that if Zheng Lu was defeated, they would still have time to activate the self-assembly system. But he suddenly felt a huge fear that completely enveloped him. From a rational perspective, the Wulwan Empire is now on the brink of collapse. But emotionally, who would be willing to accept this possibility? It was clear that not long ago, the Wulwan Empire was a scene of harmony and prosperity. Why did it suddenly become like this in less than 2 hours? Many people thought back to 3 years ago when they first came into contact with the surface world. At that time, they did not know what state the surface creatures were in or how powerful they were. So, at that time, even the most powerful Marshal Zheng Lu had to be careful in testing. Later, they figured out that humans were simple and weak creatures, so they came up with the idea of occupying the surface world and preparing for future changes. They attacked them again and again, and sent top aliens to kill the leader of Huashu Kingdom. As a result, the Huashu Kingdom not only did not perish, but instead they faced revenge. Everything is destined in the dark. They sowed the seeds themselves, and are now reaping the fruits. In this battle, regardless of victory or defeat, the Wulwan Empire will be the big loser. Because even if they win, at most the Huashu Kingdom will perish. They had suffered immense damage, their national strength having regressed by at least a few thousand years. Furthermore, the Qinling dragon clan existed in Huashu State, so they did not dare to attack them. They brought this upon themselves. No, there is nothing to regret. The war between civilizations is a life-and-death struggle. If there was anything they regretted, it was probably that they underestimated the strength of Huashu Kingdom. The storm is about to come, and it has already swept across the entire Wulwan Empire. The 4 major urban districts were in chaos, but Dongchung district was the worst off. These lizard men were caught in a sandwich, with the Huashu coalition forces approaching from behind and strangling them. They thought they could save their lives by escaping to the rear, but they didn't expect that their compatriots would be even more ruthless when they attacked them. For the millions of lizard men in Dongchung district, death is only a matter of time. In comparison, although the lizard men in several other urban areas suffered attacks from the explosion, the survivors will not be in great danger for the time being. At this time, some lizard men were inspired, picked up the distributed weapons, and stepped onto the battlefield to save their compatriots in Dongchung district. However, they were just cannon fodder, temporarily delaying the pace of the Huashu army and had no effect on the overall situation. At the border, Xuanwu and Suzaku were on guard against Onamo while following the army towards the East City area. Dongchung is very big. The area they are responsible for attacking is half the size of Tianhai City. The city is full of fleeing lizard men. The vermilion bird danced in the sky and blew gently. Ice blue flames without any temperature rushed to the streets and then spread out like a flood. It starts flowing along the street, then splits up when it encounters a fork in the road. It can be said to be almost omnipresent. In an instant, the body of the lizard man fleeing on the street was completely frozen, All the energy in his body was lost, and he turned into a ball of ice. Then it fell to the ground with a crack and shattered into ice chips. Not only living things, but even buildings are losing temperature. The electricity and heat sources in the buildings are being drained, and even the temperature in the air is being swallowed up by the cold blue flames. Stay with me. We'll try to get you more updates. Please like and subscribe and share the video with your friends. Love you all.